You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 23rd, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Waterworks Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Call the meeting of the Water Board together. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd. First item is approval of minutes from the board meeting of January 9th.
I make a motion for the approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting, January 9th, 2024. Second.
Motion is second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of purchase orders.
Before you have 4 purchase orders. The first one is to Midwest Meter for 1.5 meters. This is a confirming order for $4,533.96. The second is to Swan Analytical. These are chlorine analyzer reagents for $2,040. The third is to Software Solutions. This is a VIP Cloud annual subscription fee. For your information, last Tuesday our server crashed. That contains our payroll, customer business, and accounting. And so we have been scrambling. We finally got everything operational enough to do payroll at the end of last week. They do have the server fixed, but it's on its last leg, so we're not wanting to drag it out. This is an option to move away from the local primary server, which we spent quite a bit of money on maintaining and stuff too. So this is an annual subscription fee for $15,500. The fee itself is $14,500 annually. We currently pay about not quite $4,500 a year just to maintain that old server, and a replacement server is going to be in the ballpark around 25 grand. So this is moving us away from a piece of equipment that's on tax legs. We were already thinking about this, but it decided to push us forward a little faster than was planned. And then number 4 is to Ferguson. This is Rams horns for stock. It's the meter setters for $2,877.
All right, any questions on the purchase orders?
Motion to accept the list of purchase orders dated 1/23/2024.
I'll second it.
Motion second, we approve the purchase order dated January 23rd. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Claims.
Motion to approve the list of claims dated January 23rd, 2024. I'll second it.
Motion is second, we approve the claims as of January 23rd. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, approval of engineering services agreement for the railroad crossing portion of US 20 annexation area, water main extension. Chris, you want to?
Yeah. So this is one of them that I sent out to you on Thursday. Basically what it is the railroad crossing at US 20 right by Swan Lake Cemetery is a difficult crossing, is I guess the best way to say it. Crossing the railroads is always tricky when it comes to public works projects such as this. Mm-hmm. In discussions with Haas and Associates, they determined that they didn't have the personnel with the background to make this part of that project happen. So we've already involved Wessler Engineering, that was approved before, to do the basics of understanding what we were getting into. And so this is the quote to do the design, basically the final design portion of that part of the project. So this is basically just the section that has to cross the railroad. And the estimate is $84,200 to do that. It's unfortunately, crossing railroads is very expensive. They don't like to work with folks to do that. Let's look at it that way. The railroad does not, the South Shore Freight runs on that railroad, and technically the South Shore Freight owns it, but the South Shore Freight isn't owned locally anymore. It's owned by a conglomerate out of Texas, I believe, and they use a third party to do all of these crossing activities. So basically what we have to do is design it, get the engineering done, send them what our plan is, and then they're gonna look at it and mark it up if they don't agree with things, and then we'll have to make adjustments. So hopefully we'll get it right on the first try, because there are standards put out by the federal government with regard to railroad crossings, but still we're trying to do whatever we can to avoid an annual fee of crossing this railroad as well. So,
Is this a not to exceed contract?
yes, it is.
Well, it's something we have to do.
Need a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve the engineering service agreement for railroad crossing portion of US 20 annexation area, water main extension, Westler Engineering,
Second it.
Not to exceed.
not to exceed $84,200.
I'll second it.
Motion second that we approve an agreement with Westler Engineering for the East Highway 20 annexation area, water main extension, railroad crossing, in an amount not to exceed $84,200. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, master services agreement for on-call engineering services.
So this next item is something that we probably should have in place. Resulting from our long-standing relationship with Westler Engineering, we have the occasions where we need to do small plant projects, that sort of thing. And so basically what this agreement is basically kind of locking in pricing, so to speak.
Emergency situation.
In emergencies, yeah.
Really problem.
Right, so we have some emergencies that'll pop up. If somebody's asking us for main extension and we need to run the hydraulic model and make sure we get the right size main involved in the project, this basically gives us the basics of when we reach out to them for help, this is what they're gonna charge us by the hour. And then the next piece of this is we're gonna create what's called like a task order. Basically that's gonna be how we're gonna keep track of the individual projects that are done with them. So basically what we're looking for in this is just to say that yes, we'll use, when we use them, this is what we're gonna be paying. This doesn't authorize any particular project or anything like that. This is just stating the parameters of the relationship, I guess is the right way to put it.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the master services agreement for on-call engineering services with Westler.
I'll second it.
There's a motion second that we approve the master service agreement with Westler Engineering. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, approve a task order number 1.
So this task order number 1 is basically, it's a limited, I guess for lack of a better term, this is for the little projects that, maybe take 2 or 3 hours and they have to bill us for it. And basically this puts it puts a limit on how much we can do that way. So if I get a request and I need to have, like I said, the hydraulic model, and was it usually take maybe 2 or 3 hours, rather than having to do a purchase order for that particular piece of project, This task order would cover that only up to $20,000. So once we hit $20,000, then we're stopped. And this is for 2 years. So basically 10,000 a year is essentially what it is. But and this is separate entirely of our annexation project with that water main. That's separate, and that's going to be separate. If we have a larger project come in that we're looking to use Wessler for, let's say we have to do something in a treatment plant that requires quite a bit more work, that's going to be its own agreement brought before the board for approval. So that's basically the sense of this. So basically what I'm looking for is authorization that if we have to do some small asks of Wessler for support on our operations standpoint, that we would be allowed to do that up to this $20,000 limit.
Yeah,
But if
that makes
it's a larger project, then I have to bring it before you for approvals.
That makes sense.
What's the difference between this and the master services agreement?
The master services agreement is basically identifying our relationship, meaning what we're going to pay. It basically just lists the pay, what the hourly rates are, and that, and how they're going to bill us, and how that's going to happen with any particular project that we have done under the master services agreement. So for example, this annexation project, that's a unique individual project, that would be outside of the scope of the master services agreement because there's a lot of other pieces and parts that are involved in it. But I think you guys are pretty much at the same hourly rates on things when it comes to that. But we're identifying a specific project, this is what that project costs. The general services agreement just says, this is, if we have Wessler do work for us, this is how much it is per hour. This particular task order is for very small, it's saying if I call and ask for some hydraulic model information, they can bill us for it without having to have a purchase order for that, as long as I stay within this amount for the 2-year span. If it gets close to that limit on that, then obviously I have to come back to you guys.
Okay. Any other questions on the task order?
No.
I'll make a motion to accept the task order listed task order number 1 for on-call water services with Wessler Engineering as described by our fearless leader.
I'll second it.
Motion and second that we approve the task order number 1, on-call water services with Wexler. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we have an engagement letter for legal services with Bose McKinney and Evans.
So basically, this is a letter identifying what the hourly rates are for legal services concerning the item we discussed in our executive session, and breaks down how it's going to be billed. Obviously, we don't know right now the final amounts, but obviously we have an estimate, as we discussed earlier, of what we think it might be based on previous similar actions.
Okay, any questions on the legal services agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter for legal services with Bose McKinney and Evans.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Do we approve the engagement letter for legal services with Bose McKinney and Evans? Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Approval for agreement of litigation engineering support.
this was added to the agenda after I had sent that out originally. So this is specifically for engineering services with regard to that litigation item that we discussed during the executive session. This has a not to exceed $60,000, and my recommendation is that we go ahead and do this since Wessler Engineering was involved in the development of our plan. That will be the basis of discussion during these legal proceedings.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve agreement for litigation of engineering support, Wessler Engineering, not to exceed $60,000.
That's correct.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the agreement with Wessler Engineering for an amount not to exceed $60,000. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 9 is the approval letter for litigation for services of Baker Tilly.
So this next item is the engagement letter for that, for Baker Tilly to review our financials for the purposes of the litigation that was discussed in our executive session.
Motion to approve engagement letter for rate services with Baker Tilly.
I'll second it.
There's a motion second that we approve an engagement letter with Baker Tilly. Any additional discussion? If not to exceed.
No, this doesn't have that on there. But we did discuss the ballpark figure of what was estimated based on the previous.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Old business.
All right, under old business, under the US 20 annexation water main extension, Haas and Associates is in the process of engineering the sanitary portion of that, the extension that they have to do in that project. And they are recommending that we have the water and sewer, so it'd be the water labor and the sewer project bid at the same time. Particularly the US, they break it into two different portions. They're coming from the industrial subdivision, the Woodruff subdivision north of this area that's being annexed. They're coming from there with sanitary and heading south to US 20. The portion that would be together as far as bidding to the same contractor would be the water portion and the sewer portion along US 20. They believe that by having both projects tied together, it's going to work better. First of all, work better from a planning standpoint, because then the contractor can, if it's the same contractor, it works out with planning. Additionally, it makes it a larger project, and sometimes a larger project can actually bring the price down across, for both of us as a larger project. So, so basically, right now what we do have is we have an agreement with the Board of Works to do the water main portion for the reimbursement process. Sanitation has an agreement with the Board of Works, I believe, for a reimbursement process from the city, and this is coming out of the money from it's coming from the the federal money that was given to the city.
ARP?
Which one is it?
ARP?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone, all the other words I say in it, I skip the easy one. Get that check.
You're good, Chris.
So basically, I just want to request, is the board okay with moving forward, tying the two portions together and bidding them together, as long as the costs are properly segmented? So there's certain things that, like for example, mobilization is usually a lump sum for a project. So they'll have to break that down as a percentage based on how much of the project is water, how much of the project is sewer. And so as long as those items are broken apart like they need to be, I guess I just need to have the board's permission to authorize Haas to continue that direction.
Do you need a motion or just a consensus?
I could probably get away with a consensus on that because we're going to do the project.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Any
Yes.
observations about it?
Yeah.
I'll make a question.
Yay.
Go.
Is there any problems with easements to get through that property?
For us, no. As far as we know at this point, our easements look good other than the railroad one that Wessler's working on. But the rest of them should be pretty straightforward. As far as sanitation is concerned, along US 20 should not be any issue. I don't know the details of what they're working on I know they're working on one with the cemetery. So I don't know those details.
Yeah, I know cemetery wants to come south from the east side of the cemetery.
Right, yes.
And
As long as there's
being
no...
vice president on that board, we have to approve easement for
Right.
that to occur.
Yeah. So they're looking at doing that because that's really the best place to get the sewer through to get to that area
Okay.
for what they have available to them. So that's why they're requesting that as sanitary board. Or I mean, the
Cemetery, you know. Nice to have it up front. Nope.
But as far as, I don't have any issues as long as, like I said, as long as we have all the items that need to be segmented or we have it broken down in anticipation of what portion will be the water departments, what portion will be sanitation, because even though we're not directly paying for it, we have to know what the final cost is of the value of that project, because that is going to become part of our system and then we will have to depreciate that. So we have to know what it costs.
All right. More old business.
I guess just a consensus question for another item. We're moving forward quickly with some tree removal activity because if we don't get started on removing the trees, once we hit, I believe it's late March, we can't cut trees down again anymore until the brown bats are gone in October. So
Okay.
we're working feverishly to get a bid out to contractors for tree removal, and we've gotten the property permissions. Basically, I just need to make sure that the board is okay with us splitting the cost of sanitary district for that tree removal, as long as we get a cost-sharing plan in place.
How widespread are these trees?
Basically, it's basically from the railroad. There's a small grove of trees just at the railroad itself, and then running all the way down the, I guess it would be the south, the east and south side of US 20, across all the Olmsted property. And then I think there's some of the trees in front of the former mobile home park will have to come out as well.
On that
But
curve?
that'll be pretty much it.
On that curve?
There was an area that I believe the aviation board
It's pretty far.
had removed trees anyway.
Right.
I don't know.
These are,
Different trees,
yeah, basically,
brown batch.
we're gonna have a 15-foot easement right off of the right of way, and sanitary's gonna have the next 15 feet for theirs. So we have to have 30 feet of right of way, of easement area cleared of trees. Otherwise, we cannot lay any main or sewer through there until the trees are gone.
So if you have a tree removal business, you're done in the spring and summer?
Sure.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But when it
That's a
comes
side
to a
note.
project like this, we could get in big trouble if we disturb them.
Were they diseased trees or
No.
fancy trees?
It's crazy.
No,
Fancy.
it's about the bats.
Oh,
The bats migrate,
oh,
and so
It's all about the bats.
that time of year they migrate to our area and they stay up in the trees, and they're protected
Who
species.
would have thought?
okay.
Who would have
So
thought?
we can't kill
well, there you go.
them. We have to be careful of that.
All right,
Wow.
anybody have a problem with that?
No.
No,
No,
We're good.
get your chainsaw up.
good.
That's it for old business.
Okay.
New business.
As you guys are very well aware, we had some interesting activity last week. A fire hydrant was hit by the blind pig on US 12 and was knocked clear off of the water main, resulting in a 6-inch pipe just dumping water. We ended up with some broken valves as a result of trying to shut this down. Basically, where we ended up was we had about 180 customers from about 8 a.m. Thursday until 11 a.m. Friday that were off, and then another 30 from about 11 p.m. Thursday until about 11 a.m. Friday. So total 210 customers impacted. When I say customers, it's a larger population than that because all those most of those customers were apartment complexes. So that totaled up to, if I was to take a guess at population, it was probably more around 700 to 800 people. The boil water, we did issue a boil water advisory at 11 a.m. on Friday when we got the service restored. An advisory is just a recommendation that folks boil their water for 5 minutes before drinking it. It's just a safety precaution while we sample. We did take samples and all of those passed, and the boil water advisory officially ended at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. So that was some of the new business. We're going to have some expenses in that because we did have to employ the help of Woodruff and Sons Construction because we did not have enough people to handle. We basically had 3 different excavations that had to go, essentially one right after the other, and we didn't have enough people to handle that. Plus, we were fighting unbearable weather conditions.
Yeah.
And then the last item, as I mentioned when we were talking about the purchase orders, we did have a server crash on Tuesday. We walked in the door, and that was what I was greeted with: is, hey, the server's not working. So then we spent quite a bit of time throughout the week getting that worked out. We did get squared away so that we could get payroll done by the end of the week and get all the employees paid. As I said, we're very concerned about the health of the server, and so that's why we're looking at moving to the cloud and moving away from that server. We will end up buying another small server, but nothing nearly as large and powerful as what this one is, because we won't need that level. We just need to have a small server for file sharing and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to give you the heads up on that. There will be some invoices. I don't know what the costs are, but Woodruff had a crew out there for essentially 24 hours. So it'll be, I know it's going to be pretty salty.
You mentioned that she didn't have insurance.
According to the police report, there is insurance written down on there. So I will be going to the insurance, but also making sure that the county prosecutor has the information in case we aren't able to recover from the insurance company, so that becomes part of restitution for the, because it was drunk driving, so most likely there will be some sort of conviction involved.
And there's,
As there should be.
We don't have insurance that would cover something like that?
Not really, no. We don't, for that, just what happened there, our deductible is way too high to even worry about it. The other activity, really, I can't, the broken valves, I can't really put on that driver that's on us that our valves broke, that we needed to turn. So from that standpoint, that's expense we're going to have as a department for those valves.
Okay. Any other new business?
I think that's enough.
Any public comments? Director's comments?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Meeting adjourned.